It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Yeah, welcome in to the SKOR North Twins Show here. It's the off season, but this show will not rest. Judd Zulgad. Declan is enjoying a long weekend here with the Vikings not playing until Monday. So you and I are here for a little Feedback Friday. And the Twins are on the Immaculate Grid with two new categories that we've never seen before.
Including one that I've been longing for.
Yeah, the one, we'll spoil it a little bit here. The one that you've been longing for is players who spent their entire career with one team, right?
Yes, way more fun.
That's part of the grid today.
I know. I love it.
So we're looking forward to it. But let's get to we'll turn this into a Feedback Friday here where we go through some of the questions and hot takes, whatever it is that you guys have, either in the YouTube comment section of the SKOR North Twin Show episodes, or you can send us feedback through the SKOR North app. There's a feedback tab. That's the best way to email the show. And if you haven't done already, if you could click the like button and the subscribe button on the SKOR North YouTube channel, and a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts will help us keep growing this awesome community of Twins fans, right? So let's start with Nick5238. Judley, some of the richest owners in baseball, the Pohlads, and they won't literally take one for the team. Very similar market to San Diego in terms of size and stature. And look at how much they're spending in San Diego. Of course, they might say, it's not working so great.
Yeah.
Not asking you to pay multiple players $300+ million, but I am asking for a legit push to win a World Series. We're entering a legit window here. If we come up short because the owners don't want to invest in their team, they shouldn't be owners. What do you think?
Well, I think the Padres, with all due respect, are a terrible example because it didn't work at all.
Yeah.
And it again shows that you can build a fantasy league team, which, rotisserie wise can win a league, but in real life, those players together can't necessarily win. I guess among my concerns about the current Twins, this is not very high because I guess I don't know, now if Sonny Gray leaves and they sort of have to, and they sort of use hope as a way to replace him, then I guess we could maybe talk. But like, if I was to list things that I am concerned about when it comes to the Twins right now, the Pohlads being derelict of duty as far as like their spending or being allowed to spend, I guess, since they're asked if they can, if Falvey can spend, doesn't really, it's not high on my list right now.
Yeah, I think, I do appreciate, I think it is necessary to ask these questions about billionaires who own sports franchises. Like, hey, let's check in here real quick, especially baseball teams. In the NFL and the NBA and NHL, it's all a salary cap system. So there's really never questions about whether your NFL team is spending enough money because they have to spend within a certain small range. There's a floor and a cap. All the owners make a bunch of money because the systems are set up that way. So in baseball, it is, I think every year it is a good exercise to, just kind of poke at the owners a little bit and say, hey, where are we at?
Right.
Are you guys putting in enough money into payroll? So let's go through this exercise real quick. I learned something just going through the latest Forbes team valuations and revenue numbers. Now, the last one to come out was at the beginning of this season. And the Twins opening day payroll was $153 million, which was by far the highest in team history. It was just below the median mark among all Major League Baseball teams. But according to Forbes 6 months ago, there were 6 Major League Baseball teams that were taking what I would consider to be a significant revenue loss. I think there were like 8 or 9 teams overall that lost money at the last point of this evaluation.
Sure.
But teams that were taking like $25 million or more in operating losses to run their baseball team included the Mets, who at last check took a $140 million loss as a franchise.
Yeah, because he spent but again, he spent like a drunken sailor.
Yes. The White Sox and the Padres, who commenter Nick mentioned, both lost $53 million. Again, I don't know what the exact number is now at the end of the season, but this is an annual exercise. The Blue Jays, $34 million. The Twins took a $27 million operating loss at last check here by Forbes. And the Twins, again, at last check, were 22nd in overall revenue. That's just gross revenue. $267 million in gross annual revenue. For context, there's 8 teams generating $400 to $500 million in revenue. So almost double what the Twins are. The Yankees generate $650 million in revenue. And by the way, didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
So the Twins did, according to Forbes, at last check 6 months ago, the Twins have been taking a loss on this franchise. Now, I don't know what that's going to be. They increased the payroll, so they probably took a loss in 2023 too. So they are spending more than they're bringing in, according to Forbes.
So I will say this: those Forbes lists, because we went through the same thing back in my day, as you might recall, this lead beat writer for the Star Tribune on the Vikings. Like these lists are because they're tough to judge, and teams often dispute them.
Yeah.
But teams also like play with numbers and stuff. But just beyond that, let's just talk about this. Okay. There have been times, I think, of late, and this is basically starts with the Falvey regime, because Terry Ryan didn't like to spend. Like, he was trying not to spend a lot at times because he wanted to build a team, and I get that. But let's just start with the Falvey regime. I actually have a bigger problem with when the Twins have spent unwisely than them not spending. Josh Donaldson turned out to be a terrible fit, for instance, and that was a major investment.
I actually loved that signing at the time, and he was good.
I did too at the time, but I'm saying in retrospect, they need to be right. Like, our opinions are great and they're fun, and at the time I loved it too, but it turned out to be probably not the best investment for what they could have signed with the same use of the money that went to Donaldson. My point is, I don't think and I'm not sure about you, I don't think in the last 5 years, my big complaint has been their spending. Now, we could debate how they've spent it. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, doesn't modern day baseball prove that if you're not being savvy and also developing players, that you're probably just in trouble? Well, like how many teams now? We always go back to the Yankees World Series teams before you were born, when free agency started, and the Yankees are just like, okay, cool, and they made World Series. But how many in recent years, and this is a question, it's not a rhetorical question, in recent years, how many really successful teams have been built just because they spent, like the Mets did or the Padres did this season?
Well, look, so I just pulled up the opening day payrolls from last year. The top 3 payrolls are the Mets, Yankees, and Padres. All 3 of those teams missed the playoffs. Now, over time, obviously, that's a 1-year sample. It would be foolish to say that spending more money on your baseball team doesn't lead to better results over the course of 5 years, 10 years. So 100%, because not only can it get you better players, it can get you to move off a player. Like, remember when the Dodgers, they had Carl Crawford for like $20 million a year past the point where they just said, dude, just go watch on TV. We'll pay you for the next 3 years. Yes. At one point, the Dodgers, they had like Matt Kemp, Carl Crawford. This is like 5 years ago. They had like $80 or $90 million in dead money just sitting on the couch. That's part of what having a big payroll can afford you, the ability to just swallow bad contracts, right?
This is true.
Now, when I look at payroll rankings from 1 through 30, where I will start to criticize the Twins is if something is off. I would say if it's off like by a wide margin of sort of where they rank as a market. Because again, baseball's revenue largely correlates with how big your market is, because that determines your TV deal and it determines a lot like merchandise and a lot of other things, title sponsors. Like, it's more valuable for, company A to put a sign on Yankee Stadium with all of those millions of people and media and everything.
Although we're getting patches, Phil, so don't sell us short.
Yeah.
We're going to get patches next season.
Yep. So the Twins are like a mid-market. The Twins were 17th in payroll last year, opening day payroll, or 16th according to Spotrac. That's about right. I'm not going to criticize them for that. Now, if you're the Oakland Athletics and you are 30th in payroll, but you're in the freaking Bay Area, dude, it's San Francisco, Oakland. That's like a top 5 market in the United States in terms of population. You got to figure out a way to make some money if you're Oakland. The stadium would help, obviously. A more interesting team would help. They deserve to be hammered for that. Washington Nationals, Washington, D.C., 25th in payroll. Come on, guys. Now, they just won a championship a few years ago, so they're kind of in scale-down mode. I get
Right.
that. If the Twins were to dip to like 27th in payroll, I would have a problem with it. I don't expect them to be 6th in payroll. I just don't.
And when if the Twins were a dumpster fire completely, then that, in my opinion, falls on the people that own that team, right? Like if you fall into disrepair, that's on ordinarily the people that own the team. But the Twins aren't. And so where I am looking to criticize, or where I am far more skeptical, is not of the Pohlads. It's the people running the baseball team right now.
Yeah.
Because when this is up to them, what they invest in. And again, I hesitate to say, just go sign guys. It's going to fix things. It really doesn't necessarily. And then you got teams like the Rays, which I don't know how they do it, but miraculously year after year, now they're good. But I think the Twins are at the spot now where if I cast a jaundiced eye, it's far more towards Falvey and the front office than like, what are the Pohlads doing wrong, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, because as long as the ownership, and by the way, the ownership is in line with where they probably should be payroll-wise and taking an operating loss, according to Forbes. So, I mean, you want them to take a $100 million loss instead of 25? Maybe. They're billionaires.
It doesn't guarantee anything. That's the point of of those payrolls. Like, okay, you lose $100 million. Congratulations. You're now the Mets, possibly.
Right. Well, but I'm saying, like, they could go sign a $30 million pitcher and it should move the needle. Like, it should make, like, bringing Sonny Gray back would move the needle. Mm-hmm. But they are checking the box, and they are fulfilling their duty as owners in terms of payroll on that end. And I agree with what you said, which is now it's more about front office. Hey, these are the parameters. You're not Andrew Friedman with a Dodgers budget here. You know the game. You need to be more creative than Brian Cashman, who has more money to spend. Like, yes. And that's the game.
And just to be very clear here, there have been times where the Pohlads have dropped the ball, like where they have deserved criticism, where the franchise feels like, I mean, the extended stretch after you moved into Target Field,
yeah,
that's largely on you guys.
I think that was less about payroll and more about just operations and falling behind the times, lack of curiosity.
Yeah, but I mean, Falvey, who, believe me, I think has faults, but if you look at what he's done and what they've invested in, like staffing now, which is enormous, and infrastructure of the ballpark to look at people's skeletons, which is freaky, things like that. Like they are spending now. Yeah. I think part of it with Terry, who, by the way, his first tenure was brilliant. Okay, like he brought this team back, but I think part of it was Terry was he was looking for a way to save. I don't sense Falvey is. And I don't sense that the Twins are trying not to spend. I don't think not spending is their biggest problem, but you do bring up a good point. The Gray situation and how it plays out will be interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm. Unnamed emailer chimes in here and says, first off, thanks to you and the entire trio for bringing the SKOR North Twins Show back. Your show made me feel like I could have a baseball conversation every day toward the end of the season. Thanks for consuming. Are you planning on doing a show talking about how the Twins might navigate dealing with their injured players and damaged goods for next year? I can't recall a division-winning team that had so many players with durability questions going into the next season. Can we really count on 140 games from Lewis, Kirilloff, Polanco, Paddock, Correa, Buxton? I mean, it's hard to plan for, man. It's really hard to plan for.
This is a great note. I feel, as I think we talked about this on the Daily Unchained with Patrick Royce yesterday, but you know what's funny, Phil, is if Byron Buxton, and I mean, it's been really sad, but if Buxton wasn't hurt constantly, I think Alex Kirilloff would be a big talker.
Yeah.
Like he was seen as this sort of protege, right, at the plate. Like, yeah. I mean, he was seen as a wonder kid, and he's never healthy.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a great point. Am I super concerned about Correa? No, I'm not. But am I concerned about the fact that Byron Buxton literally cannot stay on the field, that Kirilloff cannot stay on the field, that Royce Lewis has torn his ACL twice? Yes.
Yeah.
Totally legit question.
It's tough, man. Like, I think you have to put these guys in some different bins too. Like, going into next year, I have to rely on Royce Lewis and just cross my fingers. I have to rely on Carlos Correa and just cross my fingers. Chris Paddock has to be in my rotation. The innings thing is going to be a question. They might have to, maybe they like shut him down for 3 weeks in the middle of the year or something, kind of like they did with Bailey Ober. With Polanco, there's enough track record. Ankle problems, right? Like you're not getting 150 games out of that guy. And he's a good player when he's in and when he's healthy. Kirilloff, I don't think you can go in saying, okay, Buxton and Kirilloff, we know we're going to get this from them. You have to have, and they did this year, right? They decided for the first time, Michael A. Taylor, if needed, could just be our center fielder for 6 months.
And
who could be your first baseman for 6 months, if not Kirilloff?
So going down that path, I think you're exactly right, which is why it sort of concerns me. Like I want a sure thing for Buxton as the backup where Taylor might not have been great, but he was damn good in the outfield. He would run into pitches, and this was really the first time that they gave themselves insurance. Now, do they have, is Austin Martin that guy? I have no idea. But it does concern me a little bit that they would go that route because I want a sure thing. The Kirilloff thing, I think you're 1,000% right. You cannot count on him. If he plays, that's awesome. The Royce Lewis thing, you do have to have a decent backup because like he has shown in his career a complete inability to stay healthy. 2 ACL tears and an oblique strain. But I'm with you. You've got to count on. I'm not saying don't count on him. I'm saying if he goes out, who's his backup? The Paddock one's interesting. So what's your theory? What's your thought about that? Do you go into spring training thinking, okay, Paddock, faced 7 guys, I think, in the playoff game and looked great
as a reliever?
As a reliever. Or are you thinking we've either got to bring Sonny Gray back or we have to take a long, hard look at trying to replace Gray? And it can't be Paddock, who would then fit into the rotation probably as the 3 or 4 somewhere with Joe Ryan.
I would say a couple things. Number one, I don't think you can replace Sonny Gray apples for apples with Chris Paddock. The innings, certainly. I mean, Chris Paddock has thrown a total of, including postseason, like 30 innings in the major leagues in the last 2 seasons, a total of 30 innings. In 2021 with the Padres, where at the end of the year he had the partially torn UCL, he only threw 108 innings. So from just, even if Paddock is a good pitcher, are you really going to get like 185, 190 innings out of him? It would be wildly risky, and it would be malpractice to even plan for that, right? They're going to be careful with him innings wise. He's going to be like a 5 innings guy, probably doesn't make 32 starts. They find a way to have him make 26, 27 starts in some way, right? I also feel like watching him throw 98 miles an hour out of the bullpen and the strikeout rate and everything, I am curious, just like with Louis Varland, what Chris Paddock could be in a bullpen role. But they do need starting pitchers. That's the thing. Right. So like one of those guys, I would say with Varland and Paddock,
right,
pick one of those guys to be in your bullpen and just throw gas, and then the other guy has to be like your number 3 or number 4 starter.
It's Varland, right? In the bullpen?
Probably. Yeah.
I don't think he'd like it.
Paddock has 70 career major league starts. He's got more experience, right?
I think you get pushback there.
Yeah. Now, in the postseason, I don't know that Paddock is starting game 3 of a playoff series in a perfect world. I think I think Joe Ryan is a touch better than Chris Paddock when Paddock's at full strength. So Paddock probably goes back to the bullpen anyways if they get back to the playoffs next year.
Last part of my question, are we selling Joe Ryan short?
A little bit, yeah. I think there was a time not that long ago where he was pretty widely regarded as your ace for the next 5 years, right?
I liked him. Yeah, I like him.
He's got talent like that.
But I'm saying, is he this might sound nuts right now, but is he the Gray replacement?
Yes, so but then you need a Joe Ryan replacement, Well,
that's Paddock, but that's an easier ask.
But I don't. Yeah, but then you need you know what I'm saying? Like you.
I hear you. I'm just. I'm throwing it out as potentials.
I do think Joe Ryan has a better chance to replace apples for apples Sonny Gray than Chris Paddock does.
I would agree.
But then like Joe Ryan was a good, outside of the 5-week stretch where he lied about a hamstring injury. Let's take those out. He was a really good starter for you for the most part last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while for Paddock, man. It's been a while since he's been healthy and effective. So you got to be a little careful. That is hope, right? You can't go in with like 5 things being cross your fingers and hope. Buxton is hope. Paddock is hope. There's a couple other guys that are hope. Kirilloff.
And what's the history of guys with 2 TJs? Because Paddock's at 2 now.
There's got to be a study out there, right? I would think it's pretty ironclad at
Someone
this point
find it
for the
for
next
us.
3 years.
Some doctor, find that study for us.
After your second TJ, don't you think you're pretty good for like 3 more years? That thing should be pretty well attached by now, I feel.
Or is it attached with chewing gum now?
Yeah, who is his surgeon?
Hey, Doc, give me some of that chewing gum.
From the Wrigley family? Alex Leggy chimes in here and says, thanks to you guys and the entire SKOR North Twins Show for all your playoff coverage. You guys make the positive energy from Twins territory more perceptible to those of us not living in the Twin Cities. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. He said, I thought this might be a fun question to ponder. He actually sent this before Game 3. Beginning with the 1991 World Series and including the 2009 Game 163, the Twins have had 10 playoff victories in rounds that we won. Here's how I would rank them. I like this.
Let's hear it.
1A, 1991 Game 7. 1B, 1991 Game 6.
Yep.
He's got those kind of right there.
Yep.
Number 3, he's got 2002 ALDS Game 5, the clincher in Oakland.
Okay.
He's got a tie for number 4, Game 163, 2009, and 2023 wild card Game 1, the Royce Lewis home runs and the first playoff win in 2 decades.
Yep.
Number 6, 2002 ALDS Game 1. That was, the Oakland game. Number 7, 1991 World Series Game 2. The definitive moment for Chili Davis, Kevin Tapani, and Scott Leyes.
Yep.
He's got the second wildcard game from this year ranked 8th. Game 1 from the 91 World Series ranked 9th. And then 2002 ALDS Game 4 is 10th. I like this list.
Okay.
These are all the Twins playoff wins in series that they won. Put in a 10 out
Now he's cheating a little bit because 163 in 2009 is a regular season game.
Yes, and he does call it a tiebreaker. So, but it wasn't a playoff game per se. Those were
I'd have to go back.
Stats.
The only thing is, I wonder if a couple of those, or if one more of those World Series games from 91 should be higher. 6 and 7 are classics, but they're classics of the World Series. Forget the Twins.
Yeah, they're like all-time classic baseball games. Period.
I mean, Game 7 in 91, you can make a case, is the greatest World Series game of all time.
Yep. God, the drama,
But good job. That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Hey, before we get to the Twins on the grid here, a shout out to a couple of friends. Hire a Pro is different than roofers. Okay, so you can earn a profit on a hail claim. I'm not sure how many people know that. So roofers do it all the time when they ask for your insurance check. They just know what materials to order, the crew to hire, how to negotiate with insurance, etc. Hire a Pro takes care of this for you. Roofers actually kind of hate these guys because they show you everything that a roofer can't, the expenses, the profit on the job. So if you have an approved claim, Hire a Pro will knock it out of the park for you. If insurance has approved your roof replacement, think about the hail damage from this summer. Give them a call. Hire a Pro, 651-402-3400. That's 651-402-3400. Or go to hirea.pro online. That's hirea.pro. Also, Judd, our friends at Ugly Deck have jumped on board here in the month of October with the SKOR North Twins Show. Tell the audience.
I'm going to tell you right now, you see that deck right there? That deck's a mess. You see that deck right there? That deck is beautiful. Why? Because uglydeck.com turns your ugly deck into a beautiful one. Right now, they're offering a Reserve My Deck Package Now special for the DIYer who wants to build a deck in the spring, just like that one right there, and save huge. This is only for a limited number of customers who reserve their deck package now. Uglydeck.com. Get this, offering up to $1,000 off a full deck package, plus locked in 2023 pricing. Uglydeck.com. then delivers your deck package to your driveway by May 1st of next year. And you will be the smartest DIYer on your block. Why? Because you're going to save as much as 10 grand on your deck build. Your neighbors are going to be like, how did they get that gorgeous deck? And you're going to have saved 10 grand. Are you kidding me? Remember, with Ugly Deck, you get free plants, a free coach, like a position coach, a coordinator, access to their online deck build academy, and they will install your footings and ledger. You do the rest and save. Go to uglydeck.com, click on the Reserve My Deck package now, and enjoy, starting next spring, a gorgeous deck that will have the neighborhood envious.
Yeah. Also, tell the audience, too, about how if they're looking to lose weight, they should definitely talk to our friends at Livia here before the holidays kick in.
Well, we've been telling the stories of all the people that have lost weight and all of the guys. And guys, you know what? I know it's easy to procrastinate, but through Saturday, so we're recording this on Friday, through Saturday, get this, I've got your reason not to procrastinate, and it is huge savings, because if you join now, Livia is offering you 6 months free. That's right.
Wow.
I'll speak slowly because it's incredible. 6 months for free to drop weight, to feel great, to fit into all of those clothes. 855-GO-LIVEA, Livia.com. If you are outside the state, do not despair. If you're trying to lose weight, the whole thing can be done virtually. That's right. And again, 6 months for free. This offer ends on Saturday, so take advantage right now and join a long list of people that Phil and I can tell you about. Guys, especially, who have lost the weight, who feel great, and who know they're going to keep the weight off because of Livia.com.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. It's time for an Immaculate Grid challenge here. Let's see. I know Declan usually does this here on the screen. I'm going to see if I can do this without completely derailing us. All right. Can you see the grid on your screen, Judd?
Yeah. Good job.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't have like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music necessarily.
That's okay.
But
that's okay.
I do have the ability to type in players into the grid here. So you'll see some new categories on the grid today. I think I can zoom in on this a little bit. Let's see here.
Declan does.
Thank you.
It's fine, though.
Yeah, he's better than I am at producing. Let's see here.
It's been a long time. You're out of practice.
I know. Okay, you can see that there.
Of course,
That's a little bit wider.
Yes.
So we're looking to go 9 for 9. That's how we can be immaculate. With the Twins on the grid, I think we can hunt for a low rarity score.
Oh, God,
The biggest thing here is we have 2 new categories. So here's what we're looking for. We're looking for a twin who was a Yankee, a twin who was a Guardian, and a twin who was a National or an Expo. And then we're looking for a Yankee who had an ERA below 3 in a season, a Guardian who had an ERA below 3 for a season, and a National who had an ERA below 3 for a season. And then we're looking for a Yankee who only played for the Yankees in his career, a Guardian who only played for the Guardians in his career, and a National or an Expo who only played for the Nationals or the Expos in his career.
All right.
So with that, we'll try to keep it to 10 minutes or under here, and away we go. Should we knock out some Twins here first?
Sure. Yeah, that's not going to be hard.
Okay. Well, Roy Smalley would be a twin who was a Yankee.
Coomer
was a Yankee?
Yeah. Played third base for him. Right. Was a Cub, was a Yankee.
We've been
before as a twin.
Another name that we've flirted with here that we've we have like the Edwin Jackson, played for 14 teams. The 70s, 80s, and 90s pitcher version that we've never really used is Jesse Orosco. And Jesse Orosco, I'm going to try and rattle these off for sure. I know he played for both New York teams. He played for the Twins. He played for the Brewers. He played for the Orioles. He played for the Indians.
Yep.
The Guardians. So we could use Jesse Orosco for either Twins Yankees or Twins Guardians, if you want.
He actually started his professional career as a Twin and was traded in the Jerry Koosman trade, and then came back and ended his career as a Twin. But yes, let's use that one. That's perfect.
Do you want to use him for which square should we use him for? Guardians?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yes, that's perfect.
Orosco. Jesse Orosco. 0.3%.
Oh,
let's
beautiful.
go.
Beautiful.
Okay. Yankee. We got Coomer.
Yeah, I think Coomer's going to be pretty low, don't you? I don't think people think of Ron Coomer.
I'm just going to write him down here.
Ron Davis, Roy Smalley, Butch Weiniger. Greg Gagnon did not play. He came up with the Yankees, but didn't play, or he came up in their system, but didn't play for them.
Ruben Sierra.
Yep, Ruben Sierra. I'm trying to think of the Knobloch trade. Eric Milton had never pitched for him, I don't think. Were there any?
Brian Buchanan.
I don't think there's any big leaguers who. I don't think they were Yankees big leaguers who came over in the Knobloch trade, which actually was a great trade for the Twins.
So I think Coomer, Ruben Sierra,
Butch Weiniger.
Butch Weiniger.
No one's going to have that one.
Should we do that one?
Sure.
Okay. All right, Butch Weiniger, right here.
Yep.
WYN.
Yep.
Butch Weiniger, 1%. Okay. Let's go. Curious what Coomer is. A Twin who was an Expo or a National. I mean, Brian Dozier is probably going to be pretty high on that list, right?
Yeah, let's think Expos. Jeff Reardon, Jeff Reed was, I believe, Jeff Reed, who was a catcher for the Twins, and then was traded in the Reardon trade.
Reardon.
Who else was Twin in an Expo? Span's going to be a high one because that's a national.
I will say Declan got food poisoning yesterday. He did send us a screenshot. He knows we're going to do this. He sent us a screenshot of the grid, and he did say Casey Fien and Jared Burton opportunities. I'm trying to remember. I know Jared Burton was a Red. Was he a Yankee too? I mean, we're already past that.
I'm a little bit scared he plugged those in and knows them though. We should
probably stay
stepping
away.
out on the grid.
Yeah,
cheating.
I think Casey Fien was a national actually, but we should probably stay away from that.
Who's the pitcher? Was it Kinsler? Didn't Brandon Kinsler?
Brandon Kinsler. Yep.
Didn't he pitch for the Nats?
Mm-hmm. Tyler Clippard.
Oh, I like Tyler Clippard. Yeah, that's a great one.
Actually, though, but here's the thing: for the ERA below 3, relievers are going to be your friend for that category, right? Because there's going to be we could go like Dennis or Pedro Martinez for the Expos would both fit that category.
El Presidente, man.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Martinez.
So Kinsler, Matthew LeCroy.
Matthew LeCroy. I think Pete McCannon played for the Expos. That's gonna if I'm right about that, that's about a point.
You're
kind
of on
0.00.
Kind of on your own there.
Pete McCannon, who was a second baseman for the Twins, he played for the Phillies as well. I think he was an Expo.
Pete McCann.
He managed the Phillies about 8 years ago. Pete McCannon.
Let's come back to that square. We have a bunch of names that would work. Okay. We just have to kind of pick one.
All right.
Let's go. Where do you want to go next?
I trust you more on the ERA than I trust myself.
Oh, man.
I'm not real.
The ERA thing. All right. I mean, for the Expos, their two best pitchers in the 90s were among the best in baseball, Dennis Martinez and Pedro Martinez. Those are starting pitchers. I think we could use either one of those guys. The relievers make it really interesting. And this is where I don't know for sure. Like John Wetland was a great closer, right? Great reliever for the Expos. Mm-hmm. I just rattled off Reardon, Clippard. Who was the other ones we wrote down? Brandon Kinsler. Did they have ERAs?
John Wetland closed for both the Expos and the Yankees.
And the Rangers, right? Wasn't he a Rangers closer too?
Might have been. He might have been.
So I can tell you on the only one team, the Yankees, the old Yankees had so many of these guys. Like Lou Gehrig only played for the Yankees. Mickey Mantle only played for the Yankees. Whitey Ford only pitched for the Yankees. These are like Hall of Fame legends.
Yeah, I'm afraid that as much as I love this ad, I don't know what the percentages are going to be, if that makes sense. Like, because to your point, they're huge names. Yeah. That people probably know still. So like, who do you think would be the lowest of Mantle is going to be high because we just know that. Yeah.
Well, and then there's also like, are there players that got called up in the last couple of years that have only played for a team, and how high are those percentages going to be?
Ooh, that's interesting. Does that count?
An 80s cup of coffee guys, or a cup of coffee guy that got called up.
Yeah, that's a good point. An 80s one would be Mattingly, but I think he'll be high.
He only played for the Yankees, right?
Yeah, he didn't go all. Yeah, he didn't go all through. He retired because of back problems, I think.
I think with old school guys, sometimes Like Mickey Mantle's probably because he played in the
Phil
50s
Rizzuto.
and 60s. Phil Rizzuto. Okay.
Whitey Ford. I think
Let's go Whitey Ford.
I
Whitey
think you're
Ford only
barking up
pitched
the
for
right
the
tree.
Yankees. Okay.
I think you're barking up the right tree on this one.
Whitey Ford. Let's go Whitey Ford. Come on now.
Right.
2%. Yes.
Oh, nuts. Okay, that's beautiful.
Big time.
Beautiful.
Okay. Well, Bob Feller would be. Should we go back to the Bob? We could go with Bob Feller well for either one of these, probably.
Did your dad ever tell you about Lou Boudreau?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did Lou Boudreau play for anybody but Cleveland? I'm afraid he did.
This is where I don't know, man. Like some of these guys, I know Bob Feller. Bob Feller, with the exception of World War II, he was gone. He fought in World War II for like 2 or 3 years. He only played for the Indians.
By the way, the inventor of the shift,
Bob Feller.
Lou Boudreau
Boudreau
invented the shift. Player manager for Cleveland, and he shifted on Ted Williams.
Wow.
He was the first guy to shift, and people were very pissed off. All right.
Revolutionary.
Who else in Cleveland? I mean, that franchise has been around for a long time.
Are there any guys that like, this is where it's hard. They think about like prospects that got called up that flamed out, you know, not like
Joe Charbonneau. I don't think he surfaced elsewhere. He was the rookie of the year. He was in like 1981. He was the rookie of the year in Cleveland and completely flamed out. Had a show or had a song written about him. Now, here's my only concern. Did he try to make a comeback elsewhere? And I just don't remember it.
Yeah. I'm going to write his name down. Joe Charbonneau.
Yeah,
we'll come back to it.
C-H-A-R. Are there any 40s or 50s players beyond Bob Feller?
What about Larry Doby? Did he play elsewhere?
Oh boy, first black player in the American League. He managed the White Sox. Did he play for the White Sox too?
Let's do this. Because for the sub-3 ERA.
Yeah.
Well, no, because God dang it.
What's wrong?
Oh man. What about Bob Wickman for a sub-3 ERA? Didn't he have a lights out season? Or should we go? The 90s are kind of tough, like early 2000s, because pitchers struggled more.
CC Sabathia ever have one?
I think he did. Relievers are going to be.
I think you're. I mean,
yeah,
sub-3. Bob Wickman's probably right. Jose Mesa.
Did he have a sub-3?
I'm literally throwing out names of bullpen guys.
Who are some other bullpen guys from like the early, the early 2000s? They had
Glenn Barker. Glenn Barker pitched a no-hitter for him in the 80s. When were ERAs depressed?
60s, 70s, early 90s.
They were depressed.
80s. How confident, if we use Bob Feller for the under 3 ERA, how confident are you in Joe Charbonneau? Not very.
I don't remember him ever resurfacing, but I might be wrong.
Because I'm going to burn Bob Feller here. 8%. 8%.
Okay, that's not bad.
You know, we could have gone so much more obscure there. Let's try here.
If Bob Wickman's right, yeah, Joe Charbonneau. There he is.
Oh, he only played the 3 years. Joe Charbonneau. Yep. 3%. There we go. We're back.
Look at him.
Okay. That's great.
Handsome young man. Joe Charbonneau.
Under 3 ERA. What about Jeff Nelson, Yankees reliever that set up for Mariano Rivera? Remember him? Or, Jabba Chamberlain. Didn't Jabba Chamberlain have like a couple big seasons as a reliever?
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
I think Jeff Nelson would be in here. Let's go Jeff Nelson.
Try it. I'm up for it.
One time. 0.3%.
Dude, look at that. And he wanted to kick your ass too. And look at Jeff Nelson. He's coming through that screen to kick our ass.
So we're at 13, 14, about 14% here. We're probably not going to set a record here, but if we can stay below 20.
Twins Expos, I'm confident. Go Pete McCannon.
How do I?
MAC.
MAC.
Yep, there he is.
This guy, Pete McCannon. 0.1%. Let's go. Okay, so now we need. Do you have any Expos or Nationals that have only been with Expos or Nationals? Ryan Zimmerman is going to be like the biggest.
Really high. Were there any Expos? So Gary Carter left. Andre Dawson left. I think Warren Cromartie left. Did Tim Wallach play for the Dodgers?
Yep. I'm trying to think of like.
Wilfredo Cordero played for a few teams.
Is there anyone on? Trying to think of young guys on this year's obscure Nationals team. They have that former high first round pick CJ Adams, but I think he was acquired in a trade with the Padres.
Andres Galarraga.
And I'm fairly certain he debuted with the Padres.
Went to the Cardinals and Rockies. God, how can the Expos not have more guys who just stayed in Montreal? Too cheap. Delano DeShields, Marquise Grissom.
Dennis Martinez? He was a Dodger.
No,
right?
No, he went elsewhere. All right, give me a pitcher. Give me a sub 300.
The ones we wrote down here are Brandon Kinsler, Tyler Clippard. These are for Twins options, but I'm pretty sure Tyler Clippard had a couple lights out seasons, like sub 3. I'm pretty confident Tyler Clippard.
Okay,
let's try it.
Sure.
I would either go him or John Wetland, but Wetland pitched in the 90s. Come on, Clippard. 2%. Bang.
Nice. Look at that. Jeff Nelson and Tyler Clippard
want
to kick your ass. Both of them want to kick your ass. All right. Only one team. What can we afford to feel comfortable with a percentage now?
Zimmerman only played for one team, right? And we ended, but he's going to be 75%. So
right.
Kind of kills us.
I just went through a ton of Expos. Rusty Staub played for multiple teams.
I'm trying to think of like in the last few years, your best bet is like the Joe Charbonneau, is like a prospect who came up or a guy that came up, wasn't very good and got sent right back down and never came back. We could name a million of those with the Twins, but
right,
it's so much harder with other franchises.
And I followed the Expos, but I don't really follow the Nationals.
Yeah, I don't either.
So like my Nationals knowledge is not good. My Expos is far superior to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who should we? I mean, we're gonna have an Immaculate Grid if we go. You're right.
Joe Ross? Did Joe Ross get traded?
Joe Ross.
Why do I think that? I'm going to type his name in and see. It's a long time. I don't know, man. Let's try it.
All right. I was going to say, do we want to be Immaculate or
I think we want to go down swinging.
Okay.
We know we could do Zimmerman, so we know we're Immaculate. Let's go down swinging.
Okay.
Joe Ross. Or was he a Padre?
Oh, boy. Don't do this then. Don't do this to me.
No, let's do it. Yes, we got it.
Oh, my God.
He was like their number 4 starter. He was a prospect, and he kind of flamed out.
I have no recollection. That's awesome, dude. Good work.
Joe Ross, 0.2%. Why? But he's wearing a Giants hat. Let's look him up.
0 cents.
I'm going to look him up real quick here. Joe Ross. I had him on, you know how I play like a fantasy baseball league for 20 years?
That's how I know.
That has 16-man rosters 16 teams, 33-man rosters.
Yep,
I had Joe Ross as a keeper for like 5 years.
That's how, because I was in a National League exclusive rotisserie league from 92 to about 2002, and that's how I know Expos.
16 rarity score. Let's screenshot this for old Dex tweets.
Dex going to be very jealous when he sees this.
There it is. All right, that's your Immaculate Grid challenge. We had a 16 rarity score today.
Joe Ross. That's a great goal.
This is the SKOR North Twins Show, where we will change the graphic at some point, but we just want another parade before we pass. Thanks to a listener for sending that one in on the YouTube comment section.